Hello, Revit Nation. It's Chris with Valor VDC, and today I'd like to take an hour or so and talk to you guys about families. More appropriately, an introduction to families. In this video, we're going to cover good families, bad families, how to maybe fix some manufacturer families you get from the internet, and this is mostly just a way to scratch the surface of families. Now, there will be a follow-up with future videos. We got one where we're going to build a pipe stand, which will be very basic. And then we got another one where we're going to build a T. And eventually I plan on doing another one for building a pipe elbow. So if you've ever wondered how families work, what a lookup table is, what a family import type is, and this is just a good way to scratch the surface. A lot of good information. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this content so we can continue to grow this channel. Thank you. And now for our feature presentation.
All right, so let's get this shindig started. Last week, Matt had asked about families and about building families and doing different things with families, and I figured this would be a great time to do an introduction to Revit families, some things that you can do with them when you get them. Sometimes you'll get broken families. I'm going to kind of show you how to manipulate things inside of them. It's going to be very basic, very basic, but it's just going to be like a minor introduction to families and general problems that I have found that can be somewhat easily corrected. You just have to kind of look at the families and start. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a new family right now. So I'm going to click on it. And when you do click on families, it's going to ask you to choose a template. So Autodesk has changed things up a bit, but we usually the English Imperial. And it doesn't matter what you're really going to build. I usually start with a generic template unless I know it's not a face-based family or a hosted family. One that's going to be on a wall, like a door. It's got to have a wall to host it. So start going into those. But for most pipe families that you're going to do, start with the generic model because there are no pipe families here. Just oh shoot. Okay. Hold on. Share screen.
Yes.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So, but there are no pipe families, pipe accessory families, nothing else. Those always start as a generic family, and then you open it up. And for the most part, families are nothing but extrusions. So if you've worked in AutoCAD and you know what an extrusion is, it's just you just draw an outline. See, they got a nice little thing called an extrusion here, and you can just draw an outline, and that's just a box, and I can hit that, and all of a sudden, why won't that go away? And then all of a sudden, I can go to a 3D view, and there's your first family. That's just a little box. You can make different ones, and that's all every family you ever see is, for the most part. Some families you can grab say you work with the manufacturer and the manufacturer doesn't make Revit families, but they make step families, STEP or STP families, .STP families. You can go ahead and import those
into Revit family.
Yeah, you can import those in through the Insert tab. And you can say import CAD because it's considered a CAD model. And these are all the additional things you can insert in. So you can get a SAT file. I'm sorry, I was off on that, the STP. You got to go through AutoCAD in order to bring those in, but that's a different story. But you can bring in an AutoCAD drawing. Say a manufacturer can send you a 3D AutoCAD drawing. You can import those in. You can import STL files, which are from like Microdesk and Autodesk Mechanical not mechanical, what's it called? Not SketchUp. I'm drawing a blank on that one. Inventor. Inventor kicks out a lot of these files. But if you're an inventor, you can always just export something as a Revit family straight into Revit. They've made those lines. So you got a lot of good options here, but so you can import those in. I'm sorry I didn't prepare one to come in, but you can bring it in and you can add connectors, which I'm going to talk about next. So, but families are just a bunch of extrusions built upon each other. So this is your bread and butter, your create tab. And you can go in here and you can go to a front view. So you can see that was the first one I built. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another thing on top of it. So I'm going to put what they call a sweep, is what most pipe fittings are made out of. First you have to sketch a path. So I'm just going to put it here. I'm going to bring it up 4 inches. And whatever it is, it will follow that path. Let's do something just a little different here. Let's do this. Let's see, how do I want to do this? Yeah, there we go. So whatever you, oops. So I'll bring this up to be 5 inches high. You can always adjust this later. And so what it does is your sweep, your blend, whatever, will follow this path. So you kick that out, and then it's going to ask you to create a sketch pattern that you want it to be. And you can come in here and you can create a circle because you have all these little tools here, and we're going to use a hex. We're going to change the number of sizes to 3, so it's a triangle. We're not going to make it too big, because if we make it too big, it won't build. Let's see if this actually builds. So once you're done with that, you can do this, and now when you look at it in 3D, you now have a triangular shape that goes up and down, and all that is it just follows this one little line. And then you have what you call connectors back on the Create tab. You have pipe connectors, duct connectors, cable trays, all kinds of nifty stuff. And what they do is you can put it, is you can set them to go on a face or a work plane. We're not going to worry about work planes right now. It's a bit more advanced, but you can put a connector on a face. See how that face lights up there? So I can put a connector there. It's going to point down. I can come in here to the end of my triangle, and I can put a connector there, and it'll point right there. And then when you click on them, you can specify sizes, diameters, different stuff like that. You can add a system classification. If you work with fabrication, none of this matters.
Okay.
Because it doesn't care what it is. The only thing it's going to look at is the diameter. I have heard told that they are planning on adding calculations to it. I think 2024 has got some minor duct calculations that will probably really slow your computers down to a screeching halt if you've used the duct plugin for fabrication. So it could get real painful for you sheet metal guys who are trying to do that. But we're going to make that a sanitary one, and we'll just make this one a vent. And then we're going to make this. We're going to change the diameter of this to be 2 inch, or let's say 1 inch. And then what's this diameter here?
2 inches, I think.
2 inch. Oh, okay, this is 2 feet. That's a little big of a pipe, or 1 foot pipe. Let's make this 1. Let's make this 4 inch, actually. Normally, what you would do is you have this here. This is your family types manager, and this controls all of your parameters. I'm going to open up some more sophisticated families and we're going to go from there. But normally what you would do is you would create a family here and call it, or a parameter, and call it diameter. Let me try to remotely spell this close to correctly.
Still not good.
Amateur. Diameter.
Okay, so here we go. It's a length parameter. You can specify what it does. For any piping stuff, it's going to be length. You can choose what discipline it's going to be part of. Since these are pipe connectors, we'll put it in piping. And then we're going to say it's a pipe size. So if you click pipe size, it will automatically only look for pipe sizes versus it's not going to look for something that's like 2 5/16 or something. So it's going to try and be smart and figure it out. So what you do is once you create that, you can come in here and you can select your selectors. And you can click on this little button and that'll link it to this. So right now that's 4-inch. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to say this is going to be 6-inch. So now, when I connect on that, see how it's 6-inch and I can't change it here because it's driven by these parameters here. And normally you would make one for waste, one for vent, if it's domestic water, cold water, and then you can assign each one of these to a property. So this is kind of just basic family building stuff. And like I said, we start out with a generic template. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here. We're going to move from a generic model to we're going to make it a pipe accessory. And when you make it a pipe accessory, things change. Down here, it's going to ask you a couple questions. Is it work plane based? Rarely do you use that, but you can. Always vertical. Just leave it checked. Normally works out better that way. But it'll ask for the part type. And it's got a couple little things that makes it work a little differently. You can get some rotation principles and different stuff. If you make it an end cap, it takes away things you see in the screen later on by experimentation. I normally just leave everything as normal, or if it's a valve, I'll leave it as a valve. Rarely do I use the other ones aside for attached to, unless it's a hanger or one of my flow arrows. The attached to doesn't necessarily mean it attaches to the pipe. It just kind of does, but it doesn't actually do that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open up a model. We're going to create a new one. And we're going to go in here. We're going to choose systems. And here we go. And now we're going to go back into our mangled whatever the hell this is. And we're going to load it into the project. And what that is, it's just family 1. I need to be in a plumbing view.
Wow.
So if we come in here, and if we select this, we go here, and there we go. So we click on it, it's going to tell us that we have a vent connection. It's going to say pipe, but we can go ahead and add pipe to this maybe. Doesn't work out very well in a 3D view. And I think this is the vent. Because it's a vent, it has a different connector type. This is a real practical, it's not going to let me do it in this view. Let me go back to plumbing, add a section here. Now it's going to be a vent. So if we click on this, it'll be a vent. If we click on this, it's sanitary. So that's pretty much creating just a weird, dynamic, generic family. Limitations you have with families. For years, I could never make a spring. You can't make a spring. You can, but you have to do something called nesting, where you bring another family into it, and then you reference that family, and I'm going to show you one of those here in a minute. But the next thing we're going to do is Yeah, let me show you an example of a nested family.
Cooling tower. Air handling.
So this would be a nested family right here. This is a fixture closet carrier. That's a nested family, and each component lights up every time I click on it, because each one is a family itself. See how the edit button comes in? You look over here, it says families. It tells you what they are, what's in here. I can go in here and I can individually edit each one of these, and then I can push it back into the family. So that's called nesting. It's when you put another family inside of another family and you can control it. So I can control each of these. Like I can move this faceplate up. Let me go here, move this here. So I got a parameter called faceplate, and I want it to be 8 inches high. Oops, I guess I went a little too high. Okay, so it wants to make a liar out of me for some reason. It doesn't want to raise. So we'll click cancel here. And I'm going to do this again. And instead of the faceplate, we're going to move this pipe up. And we'll move it to 3. And you should...
Interesting.
Unpredictable modification, so yes. So you can see it move. That's all it was. We'll move the faceplate back up.
So in the project browser, which one is the overall like family? I see like the zoom.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
So if I come in here and I hide these, this is a family that is built on nothing but other families.
Gotcha.
So what I did was, in order to build this family, is I took a whole bunch of families and I combined them together into one model, and then I built them.
So you're adding those connection points basically.
There's literally no exclusions inside this family.
Gotcha. It's just families on top of
Yeah, it's just families on top of families on top of families.
Got it.
And the files can get rather large. I mean, this is a 2 megabyte file, which isn't that big for Revit, but it is rather large. But you can get very detailed when you start nesting other families into other families. So a lot of the stuff you get, you'll have nested families. So something may not work, and I'm going to show you that in a minute with an instance where something doesn't work. So that's it there. Let me go ahead and clear these out here.
And do you prefer like making your families through Revit, or is it like you draw it out like in CAD first?
No, I make them all in Revit.
All Revit. Okay.
I try to make everything inside of Revit possible.
That makes sense.
Because if it's all native, then it all works. Right. If you don't create it natively and you import it in, then you can have some unexpected results, visibility issues, bunch of different stuff. Oh, that was something else I wanted to show you here. Was the other thing is you can control I don't want to get into visibility issues just yet. So you come over here, and each Revit template's got basic families. And what we're going to do is we're going to open an elbow here. Oh, that's types. And we're going to go down here. We're just going to open up a generic elbow. And all this is an out-of-box AutoCAD, or not AutoCAD, Revit generic elbow. It's made so that you can change the size of the fitting somewhere. Okay. Well, it's not allowing me to do that here. But if I go here, and if I click this, I drag it in, it's going to come in at a size, and I can go in and I can make it, I can click on it here, maybe, and I can make this 4 inch. And you really can't see it because it's in a, so it's 4-inch. I can draw a 4-inch pipe from it. Or you can add a piece of 4-inch fabrication to it. So what this family is this family is driven, this family is a little different, whereas this links to the radius, which is right there that I couldn't find a minute ago, which is probably because dimensions is collapsed. So if I were to make this a different size, I can make it 4-inch. And you can watch the family move. That's what they call flexing, when you can take a family and it's got multiple components inside of it. This family here is driven by what they call a lookup table. Used to be years ago, back before 2013, you had to create your Revit family and then you had a separate file for a lookup table. And what you did was you had to open up your lookup table here, you had to export it. And let's just go ahead and export it to, I need to export it to a place that's easy for me to get to. Right here, no, yeah, put it in projects. I'll just drop it right here. So and what it is, it's a common separated value file. It's just a CSV file. So if I go back into here and I go to here, let me connect to that drive. Apologize, I should have already been connected. I want to open this in Numbers and not Excel because it's much easier to read and see what's going on. I'm going to open it from my Mac side. Whoops, wrong one. Need to go to. No, looks like I exported it to the wrong place. My bad. Let me find it here real quick. Put it in here. Now I can get to it. So I can open this up in Numbers. And all it is just a comma separated value file once this opens up. And this is what it looks like. The first column tells you basically the pipe size that this will go up to. If you're trying to run 96-inch pipe, it won't work. But you can take it all the way up to 72-inch. And all it's telling you is this is the diameter. And then this is the fitting outside diameter right here. So it's 1/4 inch for 1/2 inch is 5/8. So this is like copper sizes. And 1 inch is 1 1/8. And so this table here is referenced. Get rid of this. By your family types. And what it does is it's a lookup table. And it's referenced right here, pipe fitting generic lookup table. That's that size there. And every time you change a pipe size, it looks at the nominal diameter, and then it looks at this diameter here. So first it looks at this column inside your lookup table. So if you go here, see how that says FOD? So it's looking at the fitting outside diameter, and then it's looking for this nominal diameter, which is right here. So it references this from the family, and then it adds in plus 1/8 inch for some reason, and then it references it again. This is if it fails. So if it can't find this fitting, so let's say if I go 96 inches, see if it makes it. Yeah. So all it did was it made this fitting.
It added the 8.
And it just added 1/8 inch to the outside diameter of the fitting, 96 1/8. So this takes this nominal diameter and it just adds 1/8 inch to it. And then this last comma here is the nominal diameter that it's referencing here in the table, right here, this ND. Every lookup table starts with the diameter of the pipes. Be it a T, if it's a T, 1, 2, 3 nominal diameters. If it's an elbow, it can be 1, it can be 2 if it's a reducing elbow. If it's a reducing fitting, like a reducer, you're going to have your nominal diameter 1 and nominal diameter 2, and each one will reference that there. And that's how these are built. And that's what drives these families is a lookup table. So a lot of times you'll get a family from a manufacturer that have a bad lookup table and it won't work. Sometimes you can go in there and you can just edit these, or you can change it. So let's say this 4-inch one here, I want to make it 6-inch diameter, not 67. Okay, come on, let's try that again. 6, and then I can export the table as a CSV, and you can do all this from Excel. It's just Excel is a little bit more, I like to use the word clunky, because it gives you all kinds of options that people rarely use.
So where does it store them? Is it? I guess it's all within Revit. This.
Yeah. It's stored within that.
Okay.
So I'm going to overwrite this file here with this one. I'm going to say replace. And then I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to import that file that I just overwrote. Whoops, I'm right there. Don't do it, don't do it. Let's try that again. So I'm going to import it in. And I'm going to go to 4-inch nominal diameter. And when I go to 4-inch, you're going to see the fitting outside diameter change to 6.
Gotcha. Because you opened it.
Yeah, so if I click OK, it's going to be 6-inch. This here is smaller, but this is still 4-inch here.
Yep.
But the piping, see the radius? It says radius 2-inch.
Yep.
2 times 2 is 4. So, but the pipe is larger. And if I bring it into the model, so this is a 4-inch elbow with a 1-inch pipe. Now, what you're going to do, switching gears, going back into here. No. So a lot of times, there's other people who set up families differently, like Apollo. Don't get me wrong, Apollo makes really nice families. I gotta find them. Wrong folder. Apollo makes great valve families. They all look great. So let's go here. Oh, stock market's getting ready to open. So we'll go in here. We're gonna open up just a valve. This valve right here. It's gonna import. Now this is the family that typically, if I remember right, is not driven by families or not driven by lookup tables. It's a beautiful family here. You come in here and you open it up and there's no lookup table. It's not driven by lookup tables, but it's driven by this. And in the coding industry, we call this not clean. Because nobody knows what the hell is easy integer 1 is.
Right.
Nobody knows that.
But they made those themselves.
Yeah,
they created
they created it. Whoever created it didn't. Most of the time, when you create something, you'll say body OD. I'd say body hex to create this part right here. Handle, body, stuff like that. I would have been a bit more descriptive. So that's an example of a great family that works, but it's virtually uneditable until you take the hours to go through and figure out what controls what. And let me turn on some.
I wonder if that's like a proprietary sort of thing.
No, I just think it was a bunch of non-Americans who created these families. See how that so you can gather a clue if you start looking at some of these
I see.
lengths. So you got ZZ length 8. So well, you know what ZZ length 8 is. So you can go in there and you can correct it. Another thing they did when they created it, where the lookup family, you can reference things by size. This one here is what they call an if statement.
If then or else.
And you can come in here and get ready for it. Oh, that's not going to work.
Yeah, you have to like text.
So this is an if statement. Yeah, for some reason it's not wrapping the text like I wanted it to. But this says if ZZ integer 1 is 1 equals 1, which is a true statement, then this dimension will be 0.43. If ZZ integer 1 equals 2, that means it's probably 2-inch size, then it'll be 3-inch, 4-inch. You know, if it's 3-inch, then it's going to be this size, 4-inch, it'll be this size. And that's what they did, was they wrote it all out in if statements instead of using a table, which is much more efficient. Because if it would have been me, 1 would have been here, this would be 0.43, 2 would be 6.62, 3 would be 0.71, and that would be a lot more efficient. So you go in there and edit it, and then I would also have a clue as to what it is up top.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but like I said, that's an example of a really good family that works very well, but when it breaks, you'll never be able to fix it because you won't be able to go in there and figure out what's wrong. And last time I checked, Apollo last time I checked, they no longer have. There's a few of them on BIM object, but the Apollo valves no longer have downloadable content. Where I got those at. Apollo was bought out by another company, and they've gotten rid of their entire Revit library for some reason.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So if I were to come in here and I would click on, let's say, I don't know, press. Because I was looking for some a couple weeks ago. They may have updated their site, but normally all this is available as a Revit family, but they no longer have Revit stuff on their site. So these were ones that I downloaded a long time ago. You can download the PDF, but they don't have the families there no more. Maybe someone figured out that all their shit's messed up and they went to correct it. Don't know, but that's how it goes. So a lot of common problems you run into are with Revit. With Revit families are that. The other thing is I had it up, but Armstrong pump Revit download. So with Armstrong pumps, this is one that I found with the Mather project. When we got these, whoops. Oh. Come on. Throw me in there. Okay, thank you. I already had all that stuff done. So you got commercial pumps. And you can come in here, you can select their pumps, and they have Revit download. And we'll go this here, and we'll say whatever size that is. And we'll click create file, and it's going to send it to me by email. Try something different.
Oh damn, yeah.
It's too old, man.
Yeah, so create the file. Okay, well, I already got the file here, but you can download it and you come in here and it sends you this file, and here's the pump. So what I do is I open Revit. And I'll just drag this family in. It's going to upgrade it. These families haven't been worked on since 2012. And you know that because remember earlier when I said they have a separate text file that accompanies it? That's what these are. A beautiful looking family, right? But when you come over here to your family types, there's only one. You're like, what the hell? There's several of them. When you're looking at your submittal, you'll see there's several.
Right.
And you're well, let's go to insert because I saw that they provided this text document here. And let's go ahead and import them in. Whoops, not that. Wrong one. Insert, and you're going to say import family types. And that would be that text file right here. And it's going to give you, there's an invalid column. There's an invalid column. Now, this is what I've found out. I'm in Revit 2023. But if I was to close this file out and go here to Revit 2019, give it a second. This takes a minute to up. I got like a bazillion plugins.
So earlier you were saying, I think it was like 2013. You said like there was a change with the lookup tables.
Yes, in 2013, prior to that, you had to ship it like this. This file is from 2012.
Right.
When you created your Revit file, you had to create two files. You created your Revit extrusions, and then you created a text document that you would link into it.
I gotcha. And now,
not link in reference or whatever.
Right.
As of 2013. They embedded the lookup tables into the files.
I gotcha. Yeah.
So it used to be when you wanted to share something, you had to create a zip package and then send them both files.
Right.
So both the CSV and that.
All embedded.
But it's all embedded in the one, which was like the greatest thing they did to families since I started using Revit since 2008. Now, have they done anything better to families since I've been using Revit since 2008? Yeah, 2019, they added the elevation from offset. Crickets. Autodesk. What else have you done to your family editor? Crickets. So they literally have not changed much of the families since 2013.
Any of the families?
No, they haven't changed the family editor. I mean, they'll do a little throw some lipstick on the pig here and there, but they have not changed nothing. The core essence of how families work inside Autodesk since 2000. I've been using it since 2008, but I'm pretty sure about that far back. So I got 2019 opened up. So I can go in here and I can go back here, and I can drag this pump in, and we're getting to something that they changed finally. Look at it go, it's running. And still looks great. Still only that one. So what I can do here is I can go to import family types and I can grab that text file. I can bring it in. Wait, I didn't get this dialog in 2023. So somewhere along the line between 2019 and 2021, I think it's 20, they went in there and they changed something. So a lot of the text files won't load after 2020. I think 2020 will work. I opened up 19 because I knew it worked.
So that's why we was getting all those for the Excel.
So you're going to get all those errors, but in this one here, it's going to ask me a bunch of different questions. It's going to give me three options. I can delete the existing family. I can import all new and overwrite the existing ones, or keep the existing and import all the new families. I always just elect to delete the existing. There's only one, and it's probably not named correctly anyway. So I always just do that. So now I can come in here, and you have all the different size pumps.
Wow.
And they flex differently. So I can go in here and I can click on that, and you can watch it move and do all that happy stuff. This is one of the things, one of the quirks that happens with families. Like I said, they haven't made a significant improvement since 2013, and in 2021 they made another significant improvement that walked us backwards.
So I got a question.
Don't know why.
Do you have to keep it in 2019 now? Or
No,
can
no,
you bring it
I
into
can go ahead and I
2020?
can save this. Save as family.
No, I think after this is done,
Yeah, because-
you can upgrade.
I see what you mean, but you
because
have
it's
to
a
do this
family.
first, though.
Yeah, I can come in here and I can save
Yeah,
this.
that's
I
a good
just want to
question.
find a good place to drop it in here.
Okay, that's really good. I've had that issue before with the
Interesting.
error pounds. I was like, what is that?
Yeah, mostly it's because you're opening it in a newer version of Revit. So we're going to save this as that.
So we have to re-download our old stuff.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, so
At least have an
you
older-
got to have someone that has an old version of,
Yeah,
Right.
of
just so you can
Revit.
at least
Or
use-
if you don't, you have to go to Autodesk and say, hey, I need this version of Revit. I got an old project. And they'll open it up and they'll send you a link to download from what I understand. But yeah, typically, so we got that there. And I can come in here, insert, family. Oh, God, I hate Windows in their frickin' OneDrive. It's so damn slow. They say it's slow because it's syncing, but mine doesn't sync. Riddle me that one.
It shows that it's syncing.
It does, but it hasn't synced anything in forever. We're just going to place it on a work plan. So now you can bring it in. Works just fine.
That's
Bam. You can come in here.
You can go to edit
We're a little
and then
bit
change it
off
on the fly.
center here.
Change it.
Get out of here.
I wonder, like, so that was a 2012
Yeah.
version of Revit Family. I wonder what that cutoff is,
That's
like
crazy.
where it will work with. So we know, like, 2019 will.
It's either 2019 or 2020.
Yeah, so not that cutoff. I meant, like, so what if it was a 2014 family? Would it work with 2023? Like,
No, everything prior to that.
I see what you mean. Okay.
Anything created after 2013, you're an idiot if you had lookup tables off to the side.
Right.
Unless, I don't want to say idiot, because sometimes you want to make your families lightweight for one size versus another, but just embed the damn lookup tables and let your people go through. And a lot of times, let me go ahead and open up this family here. A lot of times what I'll do prior to the job is I'll import a family in, and I'll come in here and I'll get rid of the ones that I don't want. And you can see them starting to change as I delete them. But it's just much easier sometimes. I'm just trying to delete them. Come on. It's just so much easier sometimes. If you know the one you want, I'll typically rename this 5x8. Or don't have my glasses on, I can't see. Pump. You know, whatever pump designation it is. CW, CW1. For condenser water one. And then I'll just come in here, all the ones that I don't need, so I can get rid of the bloat in my file, I'll just delete. Because they give you a lot. I'll just delete them out. And then you don't have to worry about it. But those are some weird things. And then one last thing I wanted to go over was nested families. This is something that I found yesterday when I was trying to do something here. So let me go open, and then families, and then here. Whoops, those are my families. Those all work. Wrong. I need to go one folder up. It's pretty bad. I don't know my own folder system. There we go. And then I can come in here to Anvil International, Groove Lock, accessories, and let's see if I can find it here. Expansion joint. Oh, it opened it up. I want to do that. Let me insert this family. I'm sorry. I couldn't find the updated family on Anvil's website. They've changed their website too. They want you to download this nifty little bar now to get access to all the families. Let's say 10 inch. Let's see. So here it is here. If I click on this, you can see all these yellow things. These are your couplings. This is an expansion joint with 5 couplings running across it. And this is the pipe outlet. And I open it up and I'm like, what the hell? It's 10 inch. If I were to draw a pipe off the side, and I click on it, it tells me that it's 10 inch pipe. So I opened up the family and I'm like, what the frick? Why doesn't it work? I opened the family and it's still not there. Let me switch over here to wireframe. And you can see all the couplings inside. But none of them work. This is an example of a nested family. So all these couplings are nested. When you click on it, it's going to tell you it's nested because it's going to tell you this is a coupling shape. As opposed to this, which is just, it doesn't bring anything up into type parameter. So, and then it tells you that, it doesn't tell you what it is actually. It's like, it's an extrusion, most likely. It's a sweep. So it tells you that it's a sweep. So it would be that sweep. Remember that U-shaped thing I drew. So what I did is I started looking at this and you know, I'm looking at the type parameters. So I come in here and I start doing my work and I start figuring out where things are at and lookup tables and stuff. So look at the lookup tables and I'm like, okay, well, let's go ahead and see what's wrong with the nested family. Because a lot of times with the nested family, you get a diameter right here, and it's got a link to your diameter that goes right here. Where's that at? Right there. So you have your, you know, your nominal diameter and your nominal radius. And with most pipe families, you always go radius. Bad things happen if you connect by diameter. So it links, and so it knows it's 10 inch. The coupling knows it's a 10 inch coupling because it says it right here, but that's not 10 inches size. So I opened up the family and I hit edit. And then when I started looking at this, I'd open up this here and I start looking at it and I'm like, okay, this takes a lookup table. Lookup table's name is Groove Lock Couplings. Exactly. So I go back here and I'm like, where's that lookup table? But when I come back here to this one, it's got the expansion joint and it's got Groove Lock Couplings. So apparently someone at Groove Lock didn't nest this table in with those couplings. So what I'm going to do is export it and I'm going to send it to a place that's easy to find for demonstration purposes. You can put it wherever you want. We're going to put it right where everything else is. And we're going to remember that. And then we're going to say cancel, cancel. We're going to go back to that coupling. And this is what I had to do. And this took me about 30 minutes to figure all this stuff out. Because, you got to put on your investigation hat and try and just start going spelunking down there and figure out what's going on with it. So now that this is in, I click OK. I click OK. I come in here now, and I can say, oh, let's see if it works.
Bam.
Bam, it moved, and I'm like, oh, snap. Well, let's load it into the project. You don't want to load it into your regular Revit project. You want to load it into the other family because it's nested. And then I always just do override existing parameters. Doesn't matter. Now it works. Now I can go and, oops. I don't want to answer you.
So is
Sorry
this like
about
a
that.
true nested family now? Now that it actually.
Well, it always was a true
It's
nested
always-
family.
Okay.
But now that it works, because it didn't have that table on the inside.
Right. Okay. So
And it was missing that table. So a lot of it is just investigation
Okay.
and what you want to do to get in there to do that work. And then now from this family, I'll load it into the project. I'll choose project 1. I'll override it. Now they're all there. If I come in here, I only have the 10-inch because that's all I imported, but I could flex it if I go back here and I want to make this, I don't know, let's say 6. It flexes down. Now all these extra couplings, if you look at this view here, there's only 5, but when you look at the family,
It's 25.
there's a half dozen. There's a bunch of them there.
Right.
And the reason why is there's multiple if statements here that tell them to go on and off.
Okay.
So, this says 6 segments if it doesn't equal 7. So they have 7 segments here. So there's different families, different amounts, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of minutia in the little programming that goes on here and there. But some things you can change. Like if this is here, you can see how these are grayed out. You can't change those. But this one's not. So I can say 50 inches. And you can see it just moved.
Okay. Gotcha.
So there's some things you can change, some things you can't. Sometimes you have to kind of fake a family, and you got to kind of make it work. And so what you do is you open it up, and you're like, I need. Let's see if we have a good pipe accessory in here. Generic. No, they don't. We don't really have one. I might be able to do it with a T. That's probably lookup table driven. But let's say this T here. But you can come in here and you can edit this T so that one leg is longer. So this T here, equal, center to end is 1 1/16, right? So if I come in here and I find that center to end, it's 1 1/16, and I need it to be 3 inches. You can come in here and you can manipulate these T's. You see how it all just moved?
Mm-hmm.
Now this is 3 inches from here to here. If I were to do a measurement, 3, remeasure again, 3, and then the T extends out too. It should be 3. So you can manipulate families, but you just have to be aware because you got to figure out how they're built and what they're for and how they work. But that's pretty much a good introduction to kind of get your head wrapped around how actual families work inside of Revit and what you can do. I know Mohammed has experimented with some, and he built some pretty good ones. And I've been meaning to get back with him on some of the stuff that he did to kind of help him shore some things up. But things work. I will tell you, over the last 2 years, I've taken a journey into coding, learning how coding works, and it has dramatically increased my ability to write the correct if statements and what needs to go into it and understand how things work.
Right.
So if you have a coding background, it can help in writing some of these formulas.
Right.
here. They're not extreme formulas because none of them are like a coding formula. If you can write views like that one said. In the other family, the expansion one, it said not 7.
Right.
So, it just means that it's telling it to be off if there's less than 7 couplings or something. So you can write parameters that will turn things on and off, and that's stuff that I've been doing. Like this one here, it's got an if statement for angles, so that you can put angles in on the T, and so if it's, let's say 35. So yeah, this is 35. If less than 35, 180. I'm not sure what angle 1 is here, but it's supposed to be something. Sometimes you just kind of got to start looking through and figuring out what different things do.
You're talking about the angle of that particular...
Yeah, the angle 1, I'm not sure what that was dealing with. I'd have to go through and look and figure out. See, this is angle 1 here. So this is taking the tangent of that angle 1 and dividing it by 2. Whatever that is. Whatever it's working on. So if you do know your geometry, that also helps too. I didn't make it past algebra, so this is where I start to stutter and I start to just use the good old friend Google, now ChatGPT, to help me figure out some of these math solutions. So that's where I'm going at with all this stuff now. But it's been almost an hour, so we're going to go ahead and cut this off. Does anyone have any easy questions?
I think so. One was just to double check. So that last example where you had the nested, it was the parent, I guess, family that had the lookup tables.
Yes.
For the one that you wanted to manipulate.
Well, the nested family also has a lookup table. We had to add that lookup table to the nested family.
To the net, right.
I don't know if you want to go here yet, but every time I go into a family, there's so many constraints that you can't do anything. I just close it and go on to the next one.
That is more like those Apollo families, where it works until it doesn't work, and then when it breaks, you can't fix it.
There is no way to fix it.
Because there's no logic into how they built it.
Gotcha.
You got to go through and you got to figure out what ZZ integer 1 was versus ZZ integer 7 versus GG integer 10. And I think they're up to 19 if I remember right.
Plenty.
Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of them, and it doesn't say what it was pertaining to. Does this pertain to the handle? Does this pertain to the end of how far this extrusion is going to go? There was no information that would tell you what it was for. You had to go into the views and start going through the side views, because sometimes
once you
when you open a family,
unlock your constraints,
some of your views,
destroy the...
you have some dimensions in this view that don't show up in your front view.
Damn, okay.
Or in the left view.
Right.
No, they're probably turned off too.
One other question I had was, so I know you said that you build almost primarily all of your families in Revit. When would it be advantageous to not use Revit, or when?
Never.
No, I get that. Obviously, let's use Revit, but like, what are there cases where it's like I could easily build a Revit family in Inventor or whatever?
Inventor would be another good place to build a family because you can make them flex.
Right.
If you build an AutoCAD family, it's not going to be flexible.
Okay.
You can't make it. So you build something in AutoCAD, and you can't make it go from one size to another to another to another.
Right.
You have to literally load each one of those different sizes in, and then inside of your family here, you can create one family per instance, or you can create one type and then create a parameter here, a yes/no parameter that has a checkbox. Like this is like this one here is a yes/no parameter, 6 segments. So it says yes/no. So it's essentially yes/no is true false. So yes, I want to see it. No, I don't want to see it. So at some point there's 11 segments, and I don't know which one of the filters has 11 segments, and I can't go through because they're not all loaded. But one of those has 11 segments, and this one will switch off, and the other one and this one will turn on. So one of them has that. So there's yes, no. So if you do build something in AutoCAD or something other than Inventor will literally let you export an Inventor model straight into Revit. Now there's a lot of things that you gotta. It starts getting more advanced when you get into pipe fittings. Every pipe fitting inside of Revit, no matter if it's a fabrication fitting or a regular out of the box fitting. So let's do this, and what we're going to do is we're going to add slope to it. Slope down. We're going to say 1/2 inch. And we're going to go here, and we're going to turn up to 9 feet. It's not going to let me do it. Okay. We're going to turn down to minus 9 feet. Still not going to let me do it. Okay.
Oh,
I gotta hit the right button.
It doesn't always let you plan.
Let's try this again. We're going to draw a piece of pipe, and we're going to change our slope to be 1/4 inch. This I know. We're going to slope it up at 1/4 inch from 0. And then we're going to go to 9 feet high. And it comes in. And we're going to take this. And this does it with both fabrication and Revit families. Whereas this fitting isn't 90 degrees. This is a 90-degree elbow, but when you look at the angle, it's going to tell you that it's 88.81. If it was 1/8 inch slope, it would be 89 point. I can't remember what it is, but it'll be a little less. It's the same with fabrication families. Each family has to move and flex for pipe families. Not like architecture or something like that. So you got to always remember when you build these, you also have to make sure that there's enough room for them to flex, or they'll get broken. And what I mean by broken is you'll have two pieces that are too small and you lose visibility. And I think it's less than a 32nd of an inch you lose visibility. And then if you can't visualize that 32nd of an inch, it just disappears. And you've probably experienced that at some point where it'll say something can't be built or whatever.
Right.
And it just loses that. So you always, when you're building your families, you always have to remember if it's going to move that you have to have at least a 32nd of an inch sliver there to do it. And you can usually get away with it. So that's another thing about families that are something that's here or there. But for the most part, most manufactured families are crap. Some are good, some are bad. What I do with AutoCAD families, I try to get a 3D AutoCAD family, get a STP file, I'll import it into AutoCAD. Generally, they come upside down, and then you got to flip them around. And then I add pipe connectors inside the family editor.
Gotcha.
And then I put them in our models, and nobody's none the wiser. One thing with AutoCAD if you get a family from AutoCAD and you come in here and you uncheck that button, I can't tell you how many people have lost their families. They're like, where'd they go? I don't see them anymore. Well, the reason why is those AutoCAD families are part of imported categories, and they're nested according to that. So if you uncheck that button, like let's say you got an air separator from a manufacturer and it disappeared. I only say it because it happened to a former employee. And he was like, what the hell? Revit sucks, man. I can't find this. And he looked for it for 20 minutes. I'm like, just check the button. And he's like, what do you mean? I unchecked all these buttons because I didn't want to see these CAD files. And I'm like, yes, but you went one too far. And then all of a sudden it appeared. So there's a lot of different stuff that go on with it. It's just, if possible, stay native. But like I said, a lot of the manufacturer stuff you get is decent. You can normally work with it. Some of it is crap, but it works, like the Apollo valves. They look beautiful.
Right.
We've been using them for years, but nobody knew that they were that broken, that they're that uneditable.
Yeah.
A lot of times, the Apollo valves would come in where the handles wouldn't appear. I had to go in, turn the handles on because they had the handles turned off in the family, and it didn't give you the option to turn them on in the model because there's a lot of stuff that you can do, like you can add different stuff. Let's see something here. This is one that I did here. I gotta draw a floor first. I redid these sleeves because Hilti no longer offers sleeves.
What?
So I redid our sleeves. Well, they no longer offer sleeve families. They want you to buy their plug-in online. Or they have very few. I can just go here. So I can go in here. So I have these families here that have a lot of nested components inside of them.
So the ones we have in the model are yours?
Yeah, you got my older ones.
Okay. So
Okay, here it is.
Hilti
Here.
probably
The
saw
problem
it.
with nested, see how it says nested? That's a clue. I added that so that you know that that's nested.
Okay.
But you can come in here and you can click on this and you can drop it in here. So one of the things I did here, put this on wireframe, is when you click on this, it's got all these nested families right here. It's got all these nested families. So what I did was I added them in, and it would make minor changes to, well, mostly, usually, like that one there would add the aerator to the bottom. So let's go in here, open this in 3D. So you can see the aerators right there. One thing is this is a 4-inch sleeve. So if I was to come in here and I click on 3-inch, it doesn't show. I wrote a parameter to say if it's a 4-inch sleeve, you can't put a 3-inch aerator on it. So another thing that I put on here, see how it's got that extra piece of plastic there that you can't see?
Extension.
So this is a water barrier module. Say you have sleeves that require a water barrier module. Well, you can click on it.
Oh, 2 inches above the floor?
Yeah, so you can click on it and you can add a water barrier. No, it's like an extra piece of rubber that goes in.
Okay.
And it adds it to it.
I got you.
You can go in here and you can uncheck that. What else do I have? The standoff device on the top. So that's what you were talking about, Rick, the 2 inches off the floor. So you can add a standoff device to it.
Okay.
So when you run a schedule, I don't want to build a schedule right now, but when you run a schedule, you can get these nested parameters inside the schedule. And it'll say yes, no, yes, no. When you look at a lot of our sleeve schedules for the Mather, you look, it says has aerator. It has a check because it has an aerator. The ones that don't have an aerator don't have a check. And like I said, I built it to where it only puts a 4-inch aerator on a 4-inch sleeve, a 3-inch aerator. So if I was to come in here and change the sleeve to 3-inch, aerators disappears, but now
Works with
the 3-inch.
Yeah.
So, I built different things so that it'll run different ways.
Gotcha.
So the families are so versatile, and thank God we can't use the ITM families from the CAD from CAD MEP because those things just suck and you can't do anything with them.
Just look at it.
Another thing that you can do is you can nest points. I nested points in all my families. For a long time in all my wasted vent families, my PVC, cast iron, or whatever, I nested these points so that when you do your field layout, you can turn the points on and you can export the points. So if you're doing groundwork, you can the center of every 90 the center of every 45 where it comes together. So the guy out there with the thing works with fabrication parts. You can export it, but it only give you the ends of each pipe. And so why do you want to know the end of each pipe? The end of each elbow. So what it does is it comes in and it puts the APL. We'll put a point here at the end of this pipe, at the end of this pipe, and at the end of that pipe.
Right.
Or at the end of the fitting. It doesn't put it in the middle of the fitting,
Right.
where the two convene.
Right.
Where you're like, this is the center of my 45 and I'm going off. So one thing is I export 1 point, whereas they're exporting 4 for every other.
Which just weighs it down, I guess. Right?
Yeah, it's just so many extra stuff
Extra,
that
right.
slows the field down.
Right.
Whereas with families, you can just put it right wherever you want it to go.
Gotcha.
And typically you put it right where the two intersect. 45s, Ys, Ts, whatever. You know, that's how I set them all up. So there's a lot of things that I can go on for hours and talk about families. And I spent years learning how to build these things and what they can do. If you do want to get into families, it's not a at-work thing that you learn. You learn it at home when you're sitting in your basement like the pimply face boy tweeting whatever they want to tweet that's mean to people. You're sitting at home and you're trying to learn how to do an extrusion and how to make the 2 points come together. You're not going to ever learn that at work. You don't. It takes hours of time, trial and error, and asking a lot of questions
Gotcha.
of things. And I haven't even scratched the surface. I still learn new things every day. But that's it.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
going to
that's
end
good.
this right
That's good,
here.
yeah.
Very good, man.